Hey everybody, just making a quick tutorial here today about how to adjust the size of your bindings to be able to fit the boots you have. If you guys have gotten some new boots over the years, or if you just have some new bindings or new skis, you need to get adjusted to your ski boot to make sure it's the same size. Ultimately, it's quite an easy task, it's not too hard, but some main things you're going to want to have, obviously, are the skis in front of you. You're going to want to have just one of your boots just as a test boot, just to make sure it actually fits, obviously. So one main thing that we're going to actually have to be able to know about the ski boot is this one size. It's called the sole length of the ski boot. So it's either going to be on the inside of the heel or the outside of the heel, or sometimes it's going to be right underneath the bottom of the foot. So in my case, it's on the inside of the heel. So if you can see, it is my sole length of my boot is a 307 millimeter sole length. And then going to the skis, my skis, they're both on a front and back track, which ultimately that means that the bindings, the front binding can move front and backwards, and same with the back binding. Right, so now that we got the basics, and we know that the front binding is on a front track and the back binding is on its own back track, we can now look back at our sole length of our boot, which in my case is a 307 millimeter sole length. And then all these numbers on the front track and the back track correspond to the actual sole length. So if you can just look here, the closest to 307 that I've got on my front track is a 308. So what I'm going to do is take my left hand, pull up this lever, and then just move it right back to right in front of that 308. And then I'm going to drop it. And I'm going to make sure it's right in place. So that's perfect. So what I do now is I'll take my boot and I'll put the toe in the front part of the binding. And then as you can see, this is way too far back in the back binding. So to be able to move the back binding, I'm just going to pull up this little lever. Then once I pull up that lever, I'll be able to push it until it's flush with the back of the ski boot. And then I just got to make sure that it's all in. Perfect. And then I put the toe back in, put the heel in, and push down. And then on most skis, you'll be able to see an actual gauge, and you'll be able to see if the boot is perfectly fitting into your binding. In my case, because this back bolt is perfectly flush with this back piece here, that means that my boot perfectly fits into my binding. So then once you do it to one ski, obviously just rinse and repeat in the other ski. So then I'm just gonna pop this up again, move back to 308. I'm all in there. Put the toe in, pick up the back piece, and then I'm gonna move that forward until it's flush at the back of the ski. I'm gonna look 304, perfect. Do the same thing on this ski. And then just make sure it's flush as well, so that's perfect. And now ultimately, your boots are fitting into your skis, into your bindings, so you are good to go. Another thing that a lot of people have issues with sometimes is making sure that their bindings have the correct DIN, so the correct release setting of the binding. So the best way to actually figure out your DIN, and the DIN is just on this little scale here, and the lower the DIN, the easier it is for your boot to release out of the binding. The higher the DIN, the harder it is. And if you go onto a DIN calculator on the internet, you'll be able to find the best website just to actually calculate your DIN, because it's based on your height, weight, age, skier type. So yeah, you'll be able to actually find out what your correct DIN is, because it can go quite south if you don't have the correct DIN. And then to actually change your DIN, what you're going to do is you're going to get a screwdriver. In my case, I don't have one right now. So you're just going to put it in the front screw here, and whenever you turn it clockwise, it's going to go to a higher DIN setting. And then if you turn it counterclockwise, it'll go obviously to a lower DIN setting. And make sure as well that the DIN setting on your front binding is obviously the exact same as your back binding, and then make sure it's the exact same din setting on both skis, just so that way you'll have the same release tension on both of your skis. And yeah, I hope you guys like this tutorial.